What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TOJ Talks. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPod11 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all 32 Pod, TOJ Talks, TOJ Pod, the whole resume. We know the deal. No better person to hop on than my co-host on the All 32 Pod, who's been covering, Boston sports, the Patriots more specifically for the last, 20 plus years. Not to age you, Mike.
Yes.
Mike, how we doing? And the wise words, Joe Caprosa, how we doing? How we feeling this morning?
We're feeling all right today. Been a nice day outside. We got some good college football on, so we'll enjoy that before we get back to a work day on Sunday.
Oh yeah, big time. I want to kind of get right into it. The Patriots this year have been a team that I think have done a lot of the things that we kind of expect, and we talked about, a lot on our show. It's about the coach, about the quarterback, some young players that are exciting, but other than that, it's a roster kind of breadth of talent. It's been a rough go since the Jets game. I think that kind of started the spiral, I guess, for both teams technically. But
yeah.
What have you made of the Patriots the last couple of weeks, and what kind of team can Jets fans expect to see on Sunday afternoon?
You are facing a team that is on the precipice of full-on disaster. 6 losses in a row. They made the switch to Drake May 2 games ago, and while he has been certainly the bright light in a very dark season, it didn't change anything. Yeah, the offense has a little bit more juice to it, and they're scoring more points, but they lost by 20 to the Texans in a game that wasn't that close. As we talked about on the All 32 pod, I joked that the Texans were kind of playing with their food that day. And then, up 10-0 in London against Jacksonville, a team that's ready to quit. And the next thing you know, they're getting boat raced, 32-16 the final. The last 7-8 minutes of that game were, essentially just run the clock out. The game was over. So, Gerard calls them soft, then tries to backtrack and say they're playing soft. Had to talk to the team about that, had a team meeting. There was another team meeting on Thursday in which injured captain Juwan Bentley was essentially like, well, a couple things. One, do more. Everybody needs to do more because where we're at is not enough. And then on top of that, it was like, hey, guys, keep your business to yourself. There's a lot of stuff that's been gotten out in the media over the last, 3-4 weeks, but in particular the last week with KJ Osborne complaining about his playing time and wanting a trade, and Jalen Polk with some weird Instagram posts, and Kayshon Boutte basically acting like he's 2007 Randy Moss and that he should be throwing the ball on every play. And Bentley, who's hurt and probably not going to play the rest of the year, was like, everybody's just got to shut up. Keep the in-house stuff, the stuff that needs to be done. The door is open, and I will say this about Mayo. Mayo said it's an open-door policy, and I believe him. So if you got a problem, go to the coach. Don't go to the media. I mean, it's great for us, obviously, because it's a content machine, but in terms of being a dysfunctional football team, I mean, they're right at the top of the list.
Yeah, no, they're a team that I keep looking at it and going, where's like the soft stuff and the coaching to me it's not elevating this team in any way, shape, or form. I think for both these teams, I think the coaching is obviously, been a big talking point, all year. Obviously the Jets have literally already fired their coach, right? So
right.
It's a little bit different there, but the Mayo part of this thing is tough. And, obviously Bill Belichick coming out in the media this week and taking every opportunity on the 850 fucking shows that he's on, to tell everyone how much Woody Johnson's an idiot and how much the Patriots aren't soft when he was the coach. I understand he has his beef with Gerard Mayo, and we're not going to go down that whole road today, but I understand he's got his gripes and things like that. And I understand he has his gripes with Woody Johnson. What I will say is, like, he has made, in my opinion, the Patriots kind of a laughingstock in a sense of like they hadn't had that for 20 plus years, and all of a sudden, whether he realizes it or not, he creates a lot of these talking points. Like Mayo calling them soft was a big deal, but then Bill like tripled and quadrupled down on it. Now I feel like it's a story that won't die. Do you feel like the same way with that? Bill has not stopped talking in the media.
No, and look, there are people that will tell you Bill is right to do what he did because, go back to the Dynasty documentary, which, Robert Kraft tried to put himself up as, yeah, he was the greatest thing ever and why it all stayed together and why they won. And Bill actually was the reason why it all fell apart. And in fact, if it wasn't for Robert's influence, it might have fallen apart a lot sooner than that. It's just not true. Of course, Bill has a huge hand in the state of the roster currently, which, as we talked about when they had cutdown day, and I said, there's probably like 43, 44 guys that deserve to be on an NFL roster. Problem with, you got to add 10 more, right? Like they're just, and that was before, like we knew that Barmore, well, he might still come back at some point this year, but obviously know him. Jabril Peppers is on the commissioner's list for his off the field stuff. I mentioned Bentley. So like, even the talent they had, now they don't have. It's pretty rough, and Bill had a big hand in that. So, yeah, Bill's enjoying every minute of it.
Great run defense last year. He's like, I don't know what happened. It's like,
too, because Bill doesn't talk about. First of all, he's getting the stats wrong. Like he's saying they're dead last in the league, and depending on which metric you want to use, they're 17th or 21st, somewhere in that range, which isn't great. I'm not saying it's great, but that's not the bottom of the league. That's more in the middle. Whatever. So, but he didn't care. It's, okay, you wanted to take me on, and now I've got this bully pulpit, and I am going to just keep hacking away at you. And the best thing for the Patriots to do, the most important thing to do, is just shut up about him. Leave him be. Don't put his name in your mouth anymore. And then answer it, right? Answer being called soft. And it doesn't even, to me, as desperately as they need a win, it doesn't have to be a win on Sunday. You just have to show that fight and that toughness that we're talking about.
Drake, in terms of Drake May, and then I want to get to the Jets quickly here. The stats are really good, especially for a rookie through 2 games. I think you mentioned a stat on all 32. He's one of the first, rookie quarterbacks through 2 starts to have the stats he has. That said, there has been some dropped interceptions. There's been some garbage time stuff. There's also been, a lot of turnovers, which is kind of what we expected. You expect from a young quarterback who's a guy that was going to have growing pains, and he didn't go up against, Jacksonville's defense is obviously atrocious, but Houston's got a really good defense, and that's a tough kind of spot to get dropped in. What if you made of May through 2 games, and how do you think he matched up against this Jets defense, knowing last time against Jacoby Brissett was the one time the Jets defense looked like the defensive line looked the way it did, and now Reddick coming back into the fold, Carter and Reed back, and all this is kind of not the ideal whirlwind of guys coming back from injury, or the stupidest holdout in NFL history.
Sure. So I was impressed by the sort of the jump he made from week 1 to week 2. He just, and I've kind of been saying this about him for a while now. He feels like his heart just doesn't, like, he's very calm, and he's calm in the face of pressure, and he's handling pressure. He did a nice job against Jacksonville. Again, we're not talking about a great defense, but the pressure didn't faze him. So that's important for him to continue that this week, because one would assume if the Jets defense plays like they're capable of, there will be a lot of pressure. Certainly if they play like they did in week 3, there'll be a lot of pressure. And so he's going to have to be able to handle that. And thus far, he's done a good job. We talk about it. It's a short sample size. We treat every one of these games because he's the most important thing for that team, aside from the coaching going forward. And so we put it under a microscope, but it's been good. He's going through his progressions. He only bailed out of the pocket maybe once when he shouldn't have. He talked about running into a sack at one point, and he was right. He sort of he didn't run out of the pocket, but he sort of stepped into it was off Mike Onwenu, and like he said afterwards, like, I told Mike that's my bad, and it's like, that's good too, though. I like he's taking ownership. He even in his press conference this week, as all this noise is swirling with the wide receivers, was talking about for the love of the game routes, which defined as basically you got to clear it out for the guy underneath you. You got to go like a bat out of hell. You're not getting the ball. And the way he phrased it made it clear that he hasn't always seen that. And he was sort of imploring his teammates to be like, hey, look, let's do that for your brother. You run through. I get the ball to the guy underneath you. Like that helps all of us. That helps us to get where we're going to get. So I think he's taking good leadership and ownership of the offense. I think he's looked calm. He's going to make some throws that don't make sense. He might not see it perfectly every time. He's going to, his footwork will occasionally, that's still a work in progress. It looked better in week 2 than it did in week 1. But I think there are going to be times when he gets heated up where, he's going to take an extra hitch or whatever. It's going to look a little sloppy. But he's so important to what they're doing because he's given some life to that group. And now it's like, okay, we actually went from the beginning of the year being like the offense is such a massive problem, like, and how do they fix it? Even when they put Drake in, it's just not going to be good enough. Now whether it's fool's gold or not, you're thinking, the best part of the team right now is the offense and the way the quarterback's playing versus how the defense is played. So that's interesting, and I think it's something we'll monitor going forward. I really do. I got to say, like, I want to see a good Jets defense out there on Sunday. Like, I want to see like sort of the old school Jets, the Jets that we believe that they have the talent to be, because I want to see how he lines up against that. How does he handle it? Because that'd be the first time. Because Houston had some injuries. That'd be the first time that he's facing a fully stacked defense that can get after him.
100%. I want to kind of transition to the Jets side of the football here, and the Devontae Adams, speech and stuff has been a huge talking point this week. And, again, you get a lot of the classic quotes that, yesterday of, there's no Elijah Vera Tucker, which is a problem. It's unfortunate. He cannot stay healthy, man.
Nope.
A guy that didn't have injury problems at USC. The Jets seem to draft USC guys, and all of a sudden they end up getting hurt. Darnold was the same way. He was injury-proof quarterback, and it's crazy. But you had a lot of the classic quotes of, Ulbrich said, Devontae's speech is just what we needed. This is the best week of practice I've had. And I probably believe him. I'm sure it probably is the best week of practice, because the first week coming off a firing like that, there's no way that was a good week of practice. The second week, there was the Devontae trade. This was the first week where, they got Reddick back, but it was kind of just a normal week. The Devontae speech, we talked a little bit about it on our show. But now that you've kind of had a couple of days, the pushback has just been, he was there for 5 days.
Right.
You've been in a lot of locker rooms, both playing, covering the, do you have a problem with him speaking up? Because I frankly feel like sometimes it takes the guy that doesn't give a fuck to come in and be like, buddy,
right.
You're 2-5.
I take it too that, Devontae and Aaron talked every week for however many years now, even dating back to the
idea what this locker room was like, I think.
Right. I think Aaron gave him a good sense of what it was all about. So I don't think he came from a place where, even though he was only there for 5 days, he didn't have at least some knowledge, maybe slanted knowledge from Aaron, but some knowledge of what it was like. And then to see it, and for me, someone who's as accomplished as he is, yeah, I'm listening to him. He's an all-pro 3 times or whatever. He's been one of the best receivers in football, and you can quibble with the way it ended in Vegas with him and whatever, however you want to feel about that. That's fine, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's talking about. So, would you prefer Quinnen Williams or Quincy or whoever, somebody who's been there, who doesn't say much, maybe, to say finally, Quincy says stuff, but who just be like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. This has got to change, guys. We have to save our season. Put it all in now, because you're going to regret it at the end. And if those guys don't feel comfortable, and Devontae came in and saw it and felt it, and obviously had the previous knowledge from Aaron, yeah, if you're going to be insulted by that as a player, then there's something wrong with you as a player. You know what I mean? And if the team isn't going to take it properly, then there's something wrong with the team. And maybe that comes out at the end of the year. Maybe that comes out in a few weeks if it keeps going badly. But that's, to me, yeah, listen, man, open your ears. You've seen a lot of football.
Yeah, I think one of my brothers, one of the ones in the military, who he follows the Jets obviously still, but day to day, he's got way more important things to do. And he texted, and we were talking about the Devontae speech, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing this. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't want to say an outside point of view, but obviously, he's not living and dying with every breath, every tweet from SMI Jets, right? But I was like, hey man, what do you think about this speech? And he's like, well, I think I'm not offended by it. I wouldn't be offended by that in the locker room, because I'd be a lot more offended by being the laughing stock of the NFL for the last 14 years. He's like, you can keep getting laughed at and you can keep getting ripped by the Florios of the world and those people and Nick Wright and all that stuff, or you can figure it out and start winning football games. And again, it's all going to come down to what happens on Sunday afternoon. It's not, being fake positive here. It's just at the end of the day, they have 2 options, and someone's coming to step up and talk. And yeah, maybe if I'm CJ Mosley or Quinnen Williams, I'm like, hey man, you kind of just got here, maybe those guys, but those guys are very lead by example people. I don't feel like the Jets have had a lot of lead by my words as well type of guys. And maybe that's kind of what they've been, even a Tyron Smith, right? Great. Stable. I know he hasn't played well, but Hall of Fame guy, but
yeah,
they've got a lot of, outside of Aaron, it's a lot of guys who, don't do a lot of talking. And that's not a bad thing. Like Michael Carter's a great leader. He's not a big talk. He's more of like an on-field communicator or, I think like even though Lazard, in that room, he's the big vet and Mike Williams, like there are a lot of quieter guys and
right.
Devontae doesn't care. And I don't have a problem with that. Last thing here in terms of Aaron, right? I think the best he looked all year was against New England in week 3. He's looked good at other points, but the mobility obviously right now is a problem. I believe pointed out on Buck the Trend yesterday on this channel was I think they were only under center twice all game. What are you expecting from Rodgers? Again, 2 games in 4 days here, then they get a mini bye, which he's going to need. But hamstrings, he tweaks the hamstring. He's got the ankle sprain. God knows what else is going on in his body. And it's not even just being old. He's been taking a lot of shots.
Yep.
What are you expecting from Aaron on Sunday afternoon?
I expect the Patriots to play into the fact that he's probably going to want to get rid of the ball quickly and hope they can make plays off of that. I would expect them to heat him up because, as you mentioned, he probably hasn't moved as well as he did in week 3 against them at any point since because of the physical contact and some of just the wear and tear on his body right now. So I think they want to get him moving. I think they'll probably want to get him off his spot and see if they can make him he made a bad mistake against Pittsburgh that really kind of swung the game. See if he can make a bad mistake. I mean, the Patriots defense hasn't made a lot of plays, so I don't know that they can count on that. I mean, in past time, you'd probably say, all right, this is a game the Patriots can take advantage of someone who's showing some signs of weakness and immobility. This defense hasn't proven they can do that at all. So I'm curious to see if they can, but I do believe that he's going to see a lot of pressure from them and try to get heated up from a bunch of different spots.
It'd be interesting. The Jets have kind of hot down, and one thing he's done well is he's kind of gone to the screen game a little bit, something that Nate Hackett just seemed allergic to. And they're going to need it because, first of all, that was their biggest play of the season on a screen against Pittsburgh, but also New England's going to blitz. And Brees is going to look a lot more like Brees. He's going to be one-on-one with, some backers and safeties. And with no Jabril Peppers, I know Jabril Peppers is not a perfect player by any means, but I feel like that the mentality of what Peppers brings to the team, and like he's just a really smart football player. Not having him, and what a just dumb arrest, but whatever. That's another.
Hey, look, again, we're not talking about an All-Pro player, but he was probably their best defensive player last year to go along with the attitude.
He's really physical.
The attitude that he brings. And like you even saw it, like there was a moment late in the San Francisco game when they're down by 17 points. I think it was like maybe the second to last play of the game. And he was out of position and he could have easily given up. He ends up making the tackle like 30 yards away. And it was like, in that moment, you're like, that's a play that should be shown to everybody on the team, that this guy who got paid is still working his ass off in a 17-point game where it's not going to make a difference. And obviously, as you mentioned, the stuff that happened off the field now, it is what it is. But like in terms of his on-field presence, it's missed.
Yeah. Last thing here, got a prediction for Sunday. What do you?
I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be. Look, again, the Jets roster is far more talented than the Patriots. Both teams obviously scuffling. Patriots more than the Jets, but there's more expected of the Jets. I can see this one being a 3-point game till late and maybe a late touchdown from the Jets, 23-13 or 27-17 or something to that effect. Maybe not even up any points, 20-10, something like that.
6-3 again.
Yeah, like it's just I'm really curious to see if the Patriots can answer being called soft.
Yeah, I mean,
and again, they don't have to win, but just hit the Jets in the mouth a little bit, make it hard for them to, as Mayo said when he called them soft, we can't stop the run, we can't run the ball, we can't cover kicks. So you do all those 3 things for the most part, and you still lose. Okay, it's a good answer to me for a team that doesn't have a lot of talent.
Yeah, no, this is a big, if I'm the Jets, you got to kill the Patriots off early, similar to what they did a couple weeks, a month ago when this kind of spiral started. Making Drake May have to throw the football 50 times. As much as I like what he's done,
right?
Throw the football 50 times, and Hassan Reddick and Will McDonald can just light you up with pressure. Like, you're in a good spot. If you're getting a 10-10 ball game with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, it's like, what here we go again. And then that mindset starts to roll a little bit, and you're going, why Are we?
Oh yeah,
What are you
that's
seeing?
and that yeah 10-10 even with the Patriots lack of talent that and 6 straight losses that puts all the pressure on the Jets
Yeah, because
because the
Jets
Pats
are
are supposed to lose.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, they're a touchdown underdog at home. Like this is what it is. Mike, obviously appreciate you hopping on Boston Sports Journal again, all 32 pod. Help come support us.
yeah,
We talk a lot of Jets and Pats, as well as the rest of the NFL. Appreciate you for listening. Joe and Connor will be back on the feed tomorrow. Hopefully the post game party, but you never know these days. It's been a while, but appreciate you for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.